the Delmarva Almanac. Each week we connect you to the best of Delmarva. Like other almanacs, our aim is to tell you a little bit about our past, our present, and events in the near future. I'm your host, Dana Kester McCabe. Barbara Lockhart has been writing all her life, though her profession for 25 years was teaching kindergarten. After that, she went back to school for an MFA in writing. She's written 3 children's books and 2 novels. In her latest book, Elizabeth's Field, Barbara tells the story of the place where she lives through the people who lived there before her.
I was very fortunate to get an oral history from a neighbor of mine who was African American, and she shared her life with me, and I recorded her and put the recording into the Maryland Archives, Maryland State Archives, of which she was very proud. Her name was Mary Taylor, and she gave me the voice that I needed. She died in the year 2000. She appears in the book as Maddie, and Maddie speaks from the afterlife as her life unfolds and the history of her family unfolds. Mary, the real Mary, was always curious about her background, and since her grandmother was a slave and would not talk about those years, Mary never found out about her family. So I guess I kind of composed a family for Mary.
Barbara says it was very interesting to discover the history because it is not often spoken of in Dorchester County, where she lives and her book takes place.
The stories of the people who lived in the 1850s, which is when the book takes place, that was pre-Civil War, of course, and the churches, the black churches, kept alive the story of, for example, Harry Tubman and Sam Green. But that was in their culture. It was not spoken about or known about very much in the white community. Sam Green was a minister who lived right down the road from me. I passed his little white church every day going to school. I had no idea that this man in the 1800s, 1850s, was arrested and sentenced to 10 years in prison for reading a book, and the book was Uncle Tom's Cabin. He was an agent for the Underground Railroad, and he was connected to Harriet Tubman. They couldn't get him for that. The intriguing part to me was how people had to buy themselves. And Sam Green, for example, bought himself and proceeded to help his race. And because they couldn't get any evidence of his work in the Underground Railroad, they searched his house and they found the book that was supposed to be incendiary material at the time. He didn't serve the complete sentence, but that got me started. I thought that story was very intriguing. The other thing that was interesting to me that got me started was I have a farm that's 22 acres. It's a subsistence farm. And I was researching the deeds, and I found out that way back in 1852, a free negress owned my land. And she had it for 5 years, and she lost it. Now, I didn't know very much about this woman. I knew when she was born. I knew when she died. I knew when she manumitted her husband. I knew about the deed, and I knew about her will. But that was it. It was just enough information for me to make up a story about her life. And involved with that were 9 years of research about what was happening in Dorchester County in the 1850s.
This is the Delmarva Almanac. I'm Dana Kester McCabe, and we're listening to writer Barbara Lockhart tell us about her book set in Dorchester County during the 1850s.
The land has always been to me another character that people struggle against or work with. All of my writing has been centered on the Eastern Shore, even though I'm from the Bronx, New York. But I've lived here for 40 years, and so the landscape is interwoven in my work.
Barbara has created a conservation easement on her farm to preserve it from development. Her own story is now interwoven not only with the actual history, but with the imaginary one of her book's character, Maddie. This connection is evident when Barbara reads a passage from the novel in which Maddie says she has finished her quest to understand the past.
Now I'm done looking back. I can look ahead. I see trees growing on Elizabeth's field, their roots holding Elizabeth's and Perry's bones. Deer come, and fox, and hundreds of birds. Everything what went away coming back, covered everything over with life. And what's left is the story. Pass it along with yours, 'cause the telling keeps us understanding things.
Find out more about her books at barbaramarielockhart.com. We'd like to thank our community partners, the Friends of Delmarva Public Radio, the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore, and underwriters EatDrinkBuyArt.com for their help in bringing this program to you, our audience. Our theme music was provided by Brightside Studio. This show has been a Moonshell production. Thanks for listening. Until we meet again, may the rhythms and tides of Delmarva bring you good fortune.